Mindy, can you hear me?
Can, yeah. Unfortunately, it's only coming through the hard drive at the back of the room again. And I thought it was resolved, but we've opened the doors and it's going to be as out loud as it is.
Okay.
That's much better. Hang on, hang on. Let's try it again. Mayor Soulsby. Try it again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
It's still real quiet, so we're just going to have to bear with it.
All right, thank you.
What about speakers? Want to try that one? Mayor Soulsby, can you try speaking again?
Can you hear me?
That sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And our recorder will recall the roll.
Counselor Lammerman,
Here.
Counselor Merity,
Here.
Council President Irvin,
Here.
Mayor Soulsby.
Here.
Join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Our first item this evening is a recognition of Don Strahan, and that'll be conducted by Public Works Director Faye Stewart.
Good evening, Council President, Mayor, and councilors. So it's my pleasure this evening to give a little recognition to Don Strahan for many, many years of service to our community. So I'd just like to start with some comments. I handed out each of you an item that Don provided to me. So I've kind of condensed it a little bit for our presentation, but I'll get started with this. So a little bit about Don. Don moved to Cottage Grove in July of 1986 and went to work for Lane Community College as the director of the Cottage Grove Center. And he retired from LCC on July 1st, 2007. I first remember meeting Don at Bohemia Park when we were just getting Bohemia Park established. And Don pulled up in his van and said, "Hey, you know, I'm retiring. I'm looking for things to do. Can I help volunteer at the park?" And so I told him that I'd work on some ideas and kind of left it at that. And then Don found other places in the community to pursue his passion to assist in fixing things. or assisting volunteer. Don is an avid cyclist and spent a great deal of his retirement promoting Cottage Grove and doing all he could to promote, improve, and maintain biking opportunities in and around our community. He supported the improvements to the Raw River Trail, improving safety for cyclists at the trail and road crossings. He supported and lobbied Lane County to improve the Raw River Trail crossing where a fellow cyclist lost her life. He supported the Raw River Trail receiving a scenic bikeway designation from the Oregon State Parks and later gave an annual report each year to the Bikeway Committee regarding activities on the trail. He developed a video of 6 area bike rides to promote tourism for Cottage Grove. The video is accessible at the city website. He spoke before the BLM Resource Advisory Council each year, supporting Cottage Grove's application for trail maintenance funds, which I believe were successful every time they applied. As a Rotarian, he supported and was a major driver in the annual Cycle the Lakes event that was held each September from 2011 to 2016. He secured funding through the local Rotary chapter to purchase and install 2 bike lockers placed in the historic downtown to promote cyclists visiting the downtown to protect and also to protect their bicycles. He volunteered countless hours providing maintenance along the Raw River Trail, cutting brush and limbs, marking hazards, blowing leaves, etc. In fact, I would regularly see Don, because I drive out Mosby Creek to my house. I would regularly see Don with a pole saw or a leaf blower. One time though, I'll never forget this. I was driving home and I saw him with a regular push broom sweeping the trail, and I thought, oh my gosh, how many volunteers would actually sweep the trail like this? So it really spoke to me about his commitment to, doing everything he could and making sure that that trail was in the best shape that it could be in. Don also led the charge in removing graffiti throughout the city. Since 2017, he assisted the city in addressing over 820 various different incidences of graffiti. Don has given 38 years of his life to Cottage Grove, whether leading higher education for our residents or volunteering to make our community a better place to live. Don, I can't thank you enough for all you have done, and you will truly be missed as you move to your next community and your next adventure. So with that, Don, would you mind coming up? All right. Please spin around.
Chance to say a couple of things.
All yours now.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if you can see it from there, but it says staying seen, students receive bike lights. And as I was going through my materials, sorting out what I'm going to take and not take, I've been saving the articles for my kids to know Dad was doing something. And it was an article 2018, June 13th. And I'm going to address the content of this in a quick couple of remarks here, but I just wanted to see that. First, I'd like to thank Faye for inviting me to come to the city council meeting. Being invited to this meeting helps ensure my kids are going to know Dad. Continue to contribute to our community. If I can take a minute, I'd like to provide a couple of examples of volunteers working on a cooperative basis in this community that you may or may not be aware of. In December of 2017, Wesley Meadows, a 13-year-old student at Lincoln Middle School, was killed riding a bicycle on Highway 99 without a helmet or bike lights. And that's where this comes into play. Doug Lyda from South Lane Fire District was the responding EMT to that thing. And Doug said the injuries were pretty significant and a helmet would not have saved him, but a bike light would have. And Doug decided to do something about providing bike lights for kids. So he raised $9,000 to purchase bike lights. And when I heard about all that, and I was really angry that this child was killed out there, I got a hold of him and I said, let me do the research on bike lights for you, because I knew something about them, not as much as I found out later on, but fair amount. Anyway, I teamed up with him, and then we wound up testing them and deciding which purchases we wanted to make to try to get the most bang for the buck. I also went ahead and developed a survey for 320 first through eighth grade students at South Lane School District regarding bicycles. And what I discovered was that 265 students replied they had a bike, and over 70% responded their bikes had neither front nor rear lights. And 78% said they did own a bike helmet. And there was an initial distribution of lights after we got them, and it was made in cooperation with South Lane Fire and that Grand Fonda that year. We also had a couple of bike light installation demonstrations and distributions of the bikes for 90 kids over at Lincoln Middle School, 7th and 8th graders during the spring of 2018. And you never know if it made any difference, but if it saved one child, it was worth it. And while many students own bike helmets, a lot of them didn't use them because they weren't cool, they didn't look right. I mean, at that age, you're invincible and you're more concerned about how it looks. And so I secured some Rotary funds to purchase helmets over a 3-year period and worked closely with Chris Compton over at Rainy Peak Bikes to determine which helmets to buy. And we took samples of helmets over to the school and checked with the kids, which of these would you prefer and which ones you don't like. And as a result, we got really good results when we wound up over a 3-year period distributing helmets. And the school district initiated at Lincoln Middle School a bike safety class. And that's how we distributed the helmets through that bike safety class. And then another individual who's been very helpful with volunteer efforts is Dr. Jim Harrison. And Jim has helped me numerous times on the trail. And in addition to that, he's also been on South Lane Mental Health Board and a number of city committees and some other boards. And, these are just other volunteers in our community that probably people don't really hear much about or know that much about, or at least how they're engaged. And that's why I wanted to bring this up tonight. And in summary, my experience with the volunteering led me to new opportunities to engage with other members of the community for the betterment of Cottage Grove. And finally, as I stated in information that I sent to Faye, I want to wish our city council and our South Lane School Board all the best as you provide leadership for our community. And I want to acknowledge that you provide examples of volunteerism in Cottage Grove at the ultimate level. And we have a former mayor sitting right over there too, who's been in that role. And you often face difficult decisions and have had the commitment and the courage to be on these governing bodies. And so thank you. And as a parting note, after 38 years of living in Cottage Grove, it's always going to be home. And while I'm looking forward to a new phase in my life, I'm leaving Cottage Grove. Sorry. Yeah, with mixed emotions. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. What a wonderful example for this community to follow. Thank you for leading by example, Don. Let's have more of those. Let's have more recognition for who's doing what in this community that's really driving it forward. Our next item is an appearance of interested citizens. This is a time for citizen comment. The council will first take comments addressing items that are not listed on the agenda, and that will be for a maximum of 30 minutes. The council will then take comments addressing action items that are listed on the agenda, also for a maximum of 30 minutes. Individual speakers must be recognized by the presiding officer. Provide your name, identify whether you are a resident of the city, and if so, which ward. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. And if it needs to go beyond that, we can approve that. Comments regarding any matter scheduled for a public hearing may be provided only during that hearing. We don't have any public hearings tonight. The council will not make any decisions based on public comment. However, staff and council may choose to ask questions or comment following the conclusion of citizens' comments. And we do have citizens signed up for both items on the agenda and off tonight. So we'll begin with items not on the agenda. And Dylan, will you please come up? I believe we'll see a timer up here that'll start to give you your indication and make sure the red light is on, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Dylan. I live here in town in Ward 1. Wanted to bring to light some issues that I noticed while the Christmas tree lighting ceremony was going on. I've worked with a lot of events, including a couple of the ones that Don helped with, as well as being a CERT member. So when I say I see things, it's not just from someone who doesn't know how these things are run. One of the first things I noticed was the location of the tree lighting ceremony at Trailhead Park there. There is a battery powered sign lights for pedestrians. Those were not able to handle the traffic that was generated by the event, and they stopped working before the event even started. This made it even more dangerous. It was already dark in that corner for pedestrians to cross. Another thing, shortly after that, I noticed police and fire running code 3, which lights and sirens, same thing as if someone was responding to a burning house or an armed robbery. This stopped vehicle traffic in both directions, Main Street, which also blocked off parts of 99, creating traffic problems. When it was pointed out after the first responders arrived at the event that there was a bit of a traffic jam caused by that, they admitted that, yes, they did, and laughed about it. Also, when the fire truck got there, they parked across the pedestrian crosswalk, forcing pedestrians to move around the truck. And that made it a bit more difficult and confusing for the vehicles that were trying to pass there. And when a firefighter on scene was asked if they could help due to their vehicle being in the way to make sure people were able to cross safely, they responded, "I'm not here for them, I'm here for Santa." After the event concluded and they were trying to get pedestrians away, an officer was standing between the fire truck and a police vehicle, which blocked him from view from the pedestrians trying to cross. He was sending vehicles down into where the crosswalk was, and which wasn't very helpful. He was also wearing minimal safety gear. The only reflective things were a couple of stripes on his uniform, and coupled with the dark uniforms, it also made him hard to see even when you weren't blocked by the vehicles. He was also using a small flashlight that you could barely see across the street, let alone further away. Thank you.
David Dunn.
Hello, David Dunn, Ward 2. I'm mainly just here to talk about the Dusk Till Dawn camp. It's goes smoothly most of the time over there, but there are still some problems. Like we left to come here as quiet, everything's fine. Campers are camping, but when I got home from work, I had to run a guy off from peeing on my fence, which I didn't appreciate. And on Saturday, I got up and I came outside to find 3 tents on the outside of the fence with people coming and going, which kind of gave me a full-on flashback to the way it was before. So I guess what I'm saying is our anxiety level being where we are is still high and has remained there just because of where we're at. And during the week, the city workers take pretty good care of it, but on the weekends, there's no one there. So it's a little different on the weekend. And so, you know, there's still issues, and I guess I'm just here to remind you that we're still there and not to let you forget about us. Thank you.
Thank you. Leah Cooper.
Hello, my name is Leah Cooper. I'm in Ward 2. I live with him. We're a couple. I just want to reiterate what he was talking about. It seems like we're easing up a little bit, and I feel like if you give an inch, they'll take a mile. I have some video. You guys know how much I like to play video for you. This is from this weekend. It's very frustrating, and it's really hard to not feel a lot of anxiety. Oh, I don't think it's gonna play. But they're out there screaming and fighting. There's a dog, big dog barking. They like to take, I don't know whose dog it is because I don't pay that close attention to them. But there is somebody over there with a dog that tends to be a little aggressive to people on the bike path, to other dogs. I don't know exactly. There's a lot of fighting and stuff when they do start setting up their tents. It's very frustrating, but I do appreciate what we have done. I just feel like we can't stop or let it slide. The city is amazing, but I have had to report it to the police department and I had nobody show up. A couple of weeks ago, there was a guy out there that was once again peeing on our fence. And I called the police and nobody ever showed up, and he was out there like all over by our fence. And our fence, you have to go down into a ditch to get to our fence from the bike path. So he shouldn't even be over there at all, really. I mean, public property, whatever, but he shouldn't be peeing on our fence and being weird. And so I had to go out there and assert myself with them. And I'm not a big person. I'm not aggressive. I'm not pushy, I guess. And I basically had to have a standoff with this man that's out there screaming obscenities and being very crazy. He had a stick at one point. And all I want is for him not to be exposing himself to my backyard. I have nieces that come over, they're little girls. And I have over a 6 foot or a 6 foot tall fence. You'd think they'd be safe, but I have to deal with that sort of thing. I just really hope that we don't slip back to where we were at, because it is very scary for us. A little residual, I guess, because it wasn't fun stomping rats for 3 days in a row when we closed it down before. So I do wish that the police would do something. They do show up and they don't do anything. They talk to them maybe, and then they leave and their tents are still set up outside the thing, or, you know, there's no resolve there. I don't know. I do want to say I appreciate that we did clean it up. And I really thoroughly want to say I appreciate the city. They have done a really good job of staying on top of them during the week. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to comments on items on the agenda, but I'll just take a pause to see if there's any comments back from the council. Seeing none. Dylan, please join us again for items on the agenda. This relates to public records, which is think item 10A. Go ahead.
Still Dylan, still in the city and still in Ward 2. This is just a quick thing I noticed in the public records change. In section 5, subsection C, paragraph 3, there is a fee waiver or reduction request from news media for level 2 records will be granted. I am just a little confused on this. Supreme Court has ruled that the news media has no more, no less right to information than the public, and why I'm curious why the news media would be called out specifically for an exception to that. That's all I was curious about. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think we can reserve comments on that when we get to that item. So we've noted that and appreciate the comments. Okay, we have no public hearings. There is no consent agenda. So looky there, we are at that item. Item 10A, resolution adopting a public records request policy for the city of Cottage Grove, repealing resolution number 1723, city recorder Mindy Roberts.
Good evening, Mayor, Council President, Councilors. So I think this is the first time I've actually ever presented to council. So bear with me. How exciting. Luckily, the memorandum's rather short. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to read it, but if not, I'm going to do so real quick. In November of 2009, the City Council adopted resolution number 1723, which adopted a public records request policy. City of Cottage Grove now utilizes Next Request. It's a Freedom of Information Act management software that allows us to receive the records requests, route them to the appropriate staff, and to respond and release the records. The attached resolution updates the city policy to reflect this change and outlines the process for submission, processing, and completion of requests. I'll just add that the resolution is far more detailed than the previous resolution back in 2009. It really highlights the purpose of records requests, the type of requests. City attorney helped craft this particular resolution and the policy, and it outlines the city response, which is the required response according to ORS, and also just briefly highlights that the city can establish fees based on the amount of time and materials that it takes to actually respond to the request. And so with that, staff is asking that City Council consider adopting this resolution, which will bring us up to date with the processes that we're actually following. At the tail end of the resolution, the appendix, I would like to point out that Next Request being an electronic portal for people to submit their requests may or may not work for everyone. So there is still a paper option for those people who do not have access to the portal. The Appendix A shows the actual physical public records request form that can be completed. Appendix B is the acknowledgement, which is pointed out in the resolution must be done within 5 days. And Appendix C shows an actual example of the response form that would be provided for those people who maybe are not able to use the portal. With that being said, all public records requests will be entered into the portal, even if they're submitted manually. And this will allow us to not only track the amount of public records requests that are done, but it also makes that request available for others who might be interested in the same document, the ability then to just pop online, see what other people have requested, and maybe get the answer to their questions that they have by, I'm sorry, Councilor Lamb, I can't really see you over there. Get answers to their public records requests, maybe without then submitting another request.
Thank you, Mindy. Do we have any, well, would you like to address the public comment? I guess that in terms of, it looks like there's some information regarding some discretionary choices of fee waiver exemptions that generally tend towards, is this in the public benefit? That's what I was reading from this. So is that kind of where this came from, the exception clause for the media?
Yeah, I believe that is the case. I have to say that I didn't craft this entire resolution myself. I had a lot of assistance from the city attorney. But one thing to point out is that level 2 requests are ones that may not be immediately accessible, but they can be accessed with no more than 30 minutes of staff time. So I believe the intent is to give public access, that public interest like you're describing to the media, and waive those so that that information that is of public interest could then be easily and quickly disseminated to the public without a charge to the media.
Thank you. Counselor Merida.
Oh, thank you. Recorder Roberts, I don't mean to be springing anything, but we didn't have an agenda session. So when I was reading through it, I was just wondering with some of our other modern updates, such as police body camera stuff, if this document cover that as well?
Point of order. We need to first make a motion before we start discussing the body of this. Am I correct? Because nobody's made a motion to bring this up.
Fair. Well, we'll need a resolution number for that. Can you provide a resolution?
Yes,
number?
so the resolution number will be number 2158.
Thank you, Counselor Lammerman.
With that observation, I move that we adopt resolution number
2158.
2158.
I second.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Thank you. Keeping us on track there. So was that addressed in another or more modern information request?
Councilor Merida, Council President, it's actually addressed in the ORS. So that would tell us specifically how we handle all those different type of requests. This is more so just a policy of how we're going to handle public records in-house, how we process those. And then we would still follow those statutes, which they're stated in the actual resolution, the fourth recital. The city is bound by Oregon Public Records Law 192311 to 192478.
All right, that was just something I had questions
Yeah.
about that could have been solved at an agenda session.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Just for clarification, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that this general discussion is permitted before a motion is made. Discussion specific to a specific motion and the opportunity to make amendments to that motion or edits to what the content of it. I think that's is specifically addressed. We can certainly make a motion right off the bat, but I believe general discussion and information gathering is permitted prior to a motion. But I'm happy to be corrected if for the rest of this meeting, it might be helpful to know.
From my, Mr. Chair, from my understanding of Robert's rules, you have to first move that an item is brought up. You have to have the second, and then it's opened up for discussion. If that's wrong, I would gladly be corrected, but as far as my understanding is it has to first be moved and then seconded to be discussed by the body.
Well, I'm certainly happy to go by that for the expediency of this meeting, and I've got some research to do tonight. So be happy to follow that, but we'll get clarity on that. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Looking online, Mayor Soulsby, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Council President Irvin. I do not.
Right. Well, the recorder, please call the roll.
Councilor Lammerman,
Aye.
Councilor Merida,
Aye.
Councilor Irvin,
Aye.
Mayor Soulsby.
Aye.
Right. The resolution passes unanimously. And that brings us to item 10B, resolution supporting a grant application to the Oregon Community Paths Grant Program for Phase 2 of the Lincoln Middle School Path. Public Works Director, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, Council President. So in September of 2024, city staff worked with LCOG staff to submit a pre-application to ODOT's Oregon Community Paths Grant Program to construct Phase 2 of the new path along the Coast Fork River. When completed, the path will connect Cleveland Street to 6th Street for the Phase 1. Phase 2 will extend the future path from Lincoln Middle School along the railroad tracks to South 6th Street. On September 30th, 2024, ODOT staff informed us that the pre-application for Phase 2 was approved, and the city is authorized to submit an official state construction application by January 15th, 2025. The attached resolution is recommended to be included with the city's official application showing the council's support for the project. It's staff's recommendation that the city council adopt the resolution supporting Phase 2 of the middle school path grant application to ODOT's Oregon Community Path Programs. I would share that the application preparation fee is approximately $3,000 to LCOG. And if ODOT approves the application, a 10% match will be provided by the city's Parks SDC funds and the bicycle footpath funds starting in 2025 to 26 through 2027-28 city budgets. Staff will also be looking and applying for additional grant funding that will qualify as match for the project. To share that this project will be a multi-year effort, probably take at least the first year to do the construction design work. And this will require ODOT to actually do that construction design work. And so I don't anticipate it being bid out to probably our 26-27 fiscal year for actual work on the project construction.
Do we have a resolution number?
Resolution number 2159.
I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that the city council adopt the resolution supporting the Phase 2 of the Lincoln Middle School Path Grant application to ODOT's Oregon Community Paths Program. I don't remember the resolution number.
2159.
2159.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the recorder please call the roll?
Counselor Merida,
Aye.
Counselor Lammerman,
Aye.
Counselor Irvin,
Aye.
Mayor Soulsby.
Aye.
Resolution passes unanimously. All right, that brings us to business from the city council. And our first item is with regard to the reappointment of members for the Planning Commission, Historic Preservation Commission, and the Urban Forestry Committee. And here to give the report is our temporary work unit manager, Melanie Klimmer. Need to get a mic there.
Good evening, Mayor, Council President, and councilors. On December 31st, 2024, the Planning Commission, Historic Preservation Commission, and the Urban Forestry Committee have member positions that have reached the end of their 3-year terms and are asking to be reappointed for the 3-year term starting January 1st, 2025 and expiring December 31st, 2027. The positions are as follows. For Planning Commission, Commissioner Tim Burns and Commissioner David Christopher both have a term expiring December 31st, 2024, and have asked to be reappointed. For Historic Preservation, Commissioner William Christensen has a term expiring December 31st, 2024, and has asked to be reappointed. For Urban Forestry Committee, committee members Jimmy Shaper, Deborah Bartlett, and Paul Higgins have terms expiring December 31st, 2024, and have asked to be reappointed. Staff's recommendation is for council to reappoint Commissioners Burns and Christopher to the Planning Commission, Commissioner Christensen to the Historic Preservation Commission, and committee members Schaefer, Bartlett, and Higgins to the Urban Forestry Committee for terms beginning January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2027.
So the city is looking for a motion from the council to make these reappointments or otherwise. Counselor Lammerman.
I'd like to make a motion, the city council reappoint Commissioners Burns and Christopher to the Planning Commission, Commissioner Christensen to the Historic Preservation Commission, and committee members Schaefer, Bartlett, and Higgins to the Urban Forestry Committee for terms beginning January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2027.
We have a motion with a second. This is not a resolution, so it can be voted on with ayes and nays. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Giving our next report, Melanie's here with us to discuss the counselor subcommittee appointment for the Planning Commission and Historic Preservation Commission interviews.
So on December 31st, 2024, the Planning Commission and Historic Preservation Commission have member positions that have reached the end of their 3-year terms. The following are the positions that need to be filled. Planning Commission has 3 positions that need to be filled. Each position is for 3 years, starting January 1st, 2025, expiring December 31st, 2027. Commissioner Tim Burns and Commissioner David Christopher both have a term expiring December 31st, 2024, and have asked to be reappointed. The 3rd position is due to the resignation of Ashley Regan. There are no additional applicants at this time. Historic Preservation Commission has 2 positions that need to be filled. Each position is for 3 years, starting January 1st, 2025, expiring December 31st, 2027. Commissioner William Christensen has a term expiring December 31st, 2024, and has asked to be reappointed. The 2nd position is due to the term expiration of Commissioner Tara Sue Hugert. There are no additional applicants at this time. The positions will be advertised in the Cottage Grove Sentinel on December 11th and 18th, 2024, and January 1st, 2025, and on the city's website. The recruitment will close for applications on January 8th, 2025. The council is being asked to appoint 2 interview subcommittees consisting of 2 city councilors, interview applicants applying for the Planning Commission and the Historic Preservation. Staff will return to City Council with the interview subcommittee's recommendations when interviews have been.
So you're looking for guidance on?
Sorry. The recommendation from staff is that City Council appoint 2 subcommittees consisting of 2 city councilors to interview applicants applying for the Planning Commission and the Historic Preservation.
Hey, anybody like to volunteer? Soulsby, would that be for both or one? Or the other? For one, okay. Which one? Historic Preservation or is the Planning Commission?
Planning Commission.
Planning Commission, okay. So we've got 1 taker for planning, 2 takers for planning? Yes. Historic? Okay, so Councilor Mary Day is volunteered for the Historic Preservation Commission. Mayor Soulsby on planning. I'd be happy to be placed whatever slot doesn't get filled in the next few minutes. What would you like? I've done both. There we go. I'll be on planning. All right. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Well, we have our next item. I'm sorry. I think it's just direction, right? As long as you have the direction you need. Yeah. Okay. Our next item is the city manager performance evaluation. I have this listed as an item for the mayor.
Council President, I'd like to pass this off to you since you led the meeting in my absence tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, we had a meeting in executive session. It's a performance evaluation, and we've come out of that. And I guess I would summarize that as the council is quite satisfied with the performance of our city manager at this time. We're very grateful to have Mr. Sauerwein here. Highlights being community involvement, just connecting with the community in terms of being on the radio, meeting on business owners, and just being generally available, exercising strong leadership and coming in notably at a very tumultuous time, not only on the human side of things, but also on the weather side of things. And this was a year that we had a deviation from a historic precedent, thanks to Mr. Sauerwein and having the staff involved in the evaluations, which is much appreciated. So that gave us insight just to know the pulse of the city staff as well, to compare that with what we see. So not sure if we're looking for anything in particular direction wise, but that is the report for evaluation for city manager at this time.
Council President, so in the memorandum in the council packet, in the city manager's employment agreement, the performance standards and evaluation states, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but after 1 year of employment and subject to a satisfactory performance review, the annual salary shall be increased by 3% of then current base salary. So at this time, it's up to council to consider the performance evaluation based on satisfactory and by motion, make that decision.
And there's a note on here, determination of an associated effective date. Does that need to be?
I have an effective date
suggested?
of January 8th, 2025.
Okay, so I'd entertain a motion from the council. Councilor Lammerman.
I'd like to move that the city council consider the performance evaluation of city manager Mike Sauerwein, and based on a satisfactory performance, award a 3% salary increase and determine an associated effective date of January 8th, 2025.
Second. Councilor Merriday with a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There's nobody that didn't say aye, so it passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Sauerwein.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the council. I really appreciate it.
Keeping along those same lines, we have an evaluation of the municipal court judge. And that is, like I said, met to deliberate on the performance. And we're looking for a motion from the council. The recommendation from staff is that the city council consider the contract renewal and amendment for the municipal court judge. And if the council desires by motion to approve the renewal and amendment to the municipal court judge's contract and authorize the mayor to sign the contract, do you need a date for that as well, for the renewal date?
Yes, Honor.
The judge's annual contract is yearly, so it'd be
Calendar year,
January
okay.
1st. Yeah, calendar year.
Wish to make a motion?
I move that the city council consider the contract renewal and amendment for the municipal court judge. And if the council desires by motion, approve the renewal and amendment to the municipal court judge contract and authorize the mayor to sign the contract and be dated to December 31st, 2025.
First.
This says 31st.
sorry, December 31st. Okay, so Counselor Lammerman with the motion. Do we have a second? And Counselor Merida with a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. All right, concerns from council.
I just want to echo the comments made by Director Stewart and the recipient himself, Don Strahan. I noticed from experience, both serving with him in the Rotary and just observing him many times in action, a truly exemplary public servant on a voluntary basis, and we will greatly miss him. Thank you for your service, Don.
Counselor Lammerman.
Mr. Chair, and council, I'd like to just echo some of the evaluation things. Mr. Sourwine and our judge are doing a phenomenal job. I'd like to say just keep up the good work. It's going to be intriguing to see what happens over the next year with the new council coming in, because our next meeting will be when they are all sworn in. So I definitely look forward to seeing what we can achieve as a city and a council with all our seats full. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That brings us to business from the city manager, Mr. Sourwine.
Well, good evening, Your Honor, and members of the council. In the spirit of the season, I have no report this evening. Thank you very much.
Having no city attorney, this meeting is now adjourned.